Okay, so you see, the second type of allowance is called machining allowance, right? As I said, casting is a primary shape forming process, right? You have post processing right after casting. So for fine dimensional control, for more features to be added, for example, right, which could not have been included in during casting design, then you will have to do some machining, right? So that allowance is what is called machining allowance. Okay, so this is also done to improve the surface finish, right? As we'll see here, it is a positive allowance given to compensate for the amount of material that is lost in machining or finishing the casting, right? To improve the surface finish, you'll do machining. So if I want a casting of let's say 50 mm size, and I've made it of 50, right? But after that, I have found that the surface finish is not good. I have to do some machining, right? So that it can be, the surface finish can be improved. But if I remove the material, I will maybe go to 48 mm or 47 mm. Therefore, I will keep 3 mm more, isn't it? That's what common sense says. You have to keep more so that after the after the machining is done, you can achieve your required surface finish. So that oversize what you're doing because of to account for this machining is called machining allowance, right? If this allowance is not given, the casting will become undersized, as I was explaining. This allowance depends on the size of casting, the methods of machining, and the degree of finish required, isn't it? Methods of machining, for example, you have this turning, rolling, etc. I'm sorry, turning, milling, right? And after that, you have super finishing processes, right? Uh, Basically honing, lapping, etc. Those are not there in your syllabus, but just to give you an idea of what this point means, it also depends on that. In the degree of finish, as I explained, value varies from 3 mm to 18 mm, right? Depends on how much machining is to be done and the level of surface finish required. Pattern must be made oversized for machining purpose, right? Same point. This extra amount of dimensions provided in the pattern is known as machining allowance. Is it clear? Quite simple, right? Okay. You see taper allowance, right? As I was talking about that, just so that it can be easily taken out. It is a positive allowance given on all the positive because you're trying to, for example, if I want to have this shape, right? Perfectly perpendicular surface, as you can see, but I'm keeping this, isn't it? I'm keeping a taper, although it is not required, right? That is why it is called a positive allowance, right? And those were the negative allowances that we have kept, if I'm not wrong, right? Because it is difficult to withdraw the pattern from the mold, you have this taper, right? Taper is being given on all the vertical surfaces. So wherever there are vertical surfaces, because horizontal surfaces are no problem to us. It is only the vertical faces which will create a problem when we are removing the pattern from the mold. Taper on the external surfaces vary from 10 mm to 20 mm per meter. This is how it is designated. How much mm per meter? For every 1 meter, you have 20 mm. What do you call drop? You can say, right? For example, from here to here, this difference. Let me show you with the help of this. If I draw a straight line like this, right? This difference is what is called. This difference is that 20 mm. Okay. If this is 1 meter, this total length is 1 meter. Then for every 1 meter, there is 20 mm drop, right? Because this is slant, going slant, right? This drop from this straight, this drop. I hope I'm clear with that. If not, you can ask. I'll explain again about this draft. Basically, is what we're keeping. So we call it taper allowance because we are keeping a taper, right? where values depend on the size of the pattern and the molding method. In machine molding, value varies from 10 mm to 15 mm per meter, right? Because it is to be machined, and therefore you are keeping a higher taper tolerance. Okay. Wrapping or shake allowance. You see, before withdrawing the pattern, it is wrapped, and thereby the size of the mold cavity increases. Right? I had explained this point earlier, that when you're what do you call, to remove the pattern easily, you're trying to give it some to have some disturbance there, right? Basically tapping is what you can say, right? We tap it before we remove it, just so that the surrounding all the sand that is surrounding that pattern will be removed, right? So that it becomes easier for the pattern to get for us to remove that pattern, right? So that shaking, right, is what will cause a change in the dimensions. So that allowance is also to be kept. By wrapping, external sections move outwards, increasing the size, and internal sections move inwards, right? Depending on the type of section that you have. So it either becomes oversized or undersized. That's what is the point here. Insignificant in the case of small and medium size casting. Only when it is large, this becomes very significant, right? If you don't keep this allowance, then it becomes very difficult for you to have a casting of the required size that you intended. But it is significant in the case of large. Negative allowance pattern is slightly smaller in dimensions, right? You see 0.5 to 1. You see distortion allowance. This is also another common sense, you can say, an intuitive one, that because of shrinkage, there will be a change in the shape. If, for example, U is what you want, this exact U, kind of what do you call, a clamp, basically we will call it, okay? Clamp like structure. Exact U is what you want. But because of shrinkage here, right, it is coming out to be like this or like this. What to do? Right? Common sense says if it is going outwards, you keep the pattern like this, so that when there is shrinkage happening, or basically contraction or whatever is happening here, if I am keeping straight U, it is turning out to be like this, right? If I keep it slightly inwards, it will come out to be like this, isn't it? So that is what you are taking into account. If it is bending inside, we'll keep it outside so that it turns out to be exact U shape. So we take into account this what do you call, contraction, basically, right? Metallic shrinkage, what is happening is distorting the shape. So we are trying to take into account when we are designing the pattern, right? Very simple. Okay, you see all those we have discussed, summarized here. You see I section, if this is the required casting, another example of this distortion allowance, if this is what we want and it is distorting, right? So if it is distorting like this upwards, we'll keep the pattern like this, right? So that it comes out to be exact I shape, like that. Shrinkage allowance, as explained earlier, it is shrinking, and therefore we are trying to keep a larger size of pattern. Machining allowance, so that we can take into account what all machining is to be done, right? Based on that, we'll decide the thickness of that allowance. And wrapping allowance, you see, because we'll be trying to shake it, right, just so that we can easily remove it. So we have that that allowance, okay, and draft, as we have explained. These all are for easy removal of the pattern from the mold and to get the required geometry of the casting, right? Size and shape into account for machining. All these things are summarized here. Is it clear, or are there any doubts so far? If you get no doubts, you're not listening. That's how it goes. Okay. You see color codification for patterns. So even I mean, we'll try to have an identification here with the help of a color. Why? You see, the surfaces to be left unfinished after casting are to be painted as black, just so that we can have a kind of communication. Okay, this is kind of a communication between the different operators in the factory and basically in the industry, you can say, the casting industry. So if it is painted black, then what will be understood is this is to be left unfinished after casting. Okay, surface to be machined are painted as red. Okay, in the pattern, if you see that there is a red color, then that indicates a machining is to be done. Core prints are painted as yellow. Seats for loose pieces, as we have seen in a loose piece pattern, right? So those are painted as red stripes on yellow background, right? You have a yellow background, a yellow matrix, and then the red stripes like that. Stop box is painted as black stripes on yellow base, right? So all this is for having a proper communication between the different personnel in the industry. You see sand mold casting. We have seen in that video, he had explained how, he had actually shown you how we can get a block, that was a block, isn't it? A hollow block made of aluminum with the help of sand casting. So sand mold casting to be precise. So this is what is the flow, right? What do you call the process that is there in sand mold casting? The different production steps in sand mold casting. So you see, you start with a pattern. Okay, you need a pattern, or we'll go like this. Yes, you see, with the help of a furnace, the metal is melt. Okay, now you have to pour it into a mold. How do you get a mold? Right, you need a mold. How do you get a mold? With sand and with a pattern, isn't it? You place the pattern in the sand, you take out the pattern, you get the mold cavity, so that you can pour this molten metal. That's how you should understand this diagram. Now when it is poured, the molten metal is poured, you have solidification and cooling, and then shake out and removal of risers and gates, because once it is solidified and cooled to room temperature, you will shake out, basically give it a what do you call, some disturbance, or basically collapse the mold in some cases, and then removal of risers and gates, so that you can have that casting. But you will have this heat treatment here also, just so that you can let go of, I'm sorry, yes, let go of those residual stresses. Okay, there will be residual stresses. What do you mean by residual stresses? Have you heard of that word? In strength of materials, yes, you would have definitely heard of this kind of stress. Residual, or what do you call, residual, or whatever you want to call it. What do you mean by that stress? Let me call. Hmm. 186 Vimal. 18H51 186. Vimal,
Sir.
you're listening?
Yes, sir.
What did I ask just now?
About the sand model casting, I guess.
No. I asked a specific question about residual stress. Have you heard of that word, residual stress?
No, sir.
Okay. You see, uh, the stress that is there when you have shrinkage, you can call it in that sense. That when the liquid metal is solidifying, you have shrinkage taking place, and because of that, there are stresses inside that casting which is solidifying, right? So that residual stresses are responsible for pre-tensioning, you can say. That even when the casting is not loaded, okay, in service, it will still have some stresses, internal stresses, right? So that will lead to either distortion when it is solidifying, or even if it doesn't lead to distortion, that casting will have some kind of residual stress is what we call it, right? It will be in tension, you can say. There are stresses even though it is not loaded, right? So you do heat treatment. The reason why I went to that is this heat treatment is done to remove to relieve the residual stresses, okay, just so that it can be free. The casting can be free of those residual stresses. So heat treatment is done. You have the cleaning and finishing, basically to remove that sand that is around the casting. Additional heat treatment if at all required, right? After this initial heat treatment, if at all an additional heat treatment, you have a lot of heat treatments. Like for example, annealing, normalizing. You will read it in your this OE1 class materials, I believe. You might have this topic. Annealing, normalizing, tempering, all these are heat treatments. Depends on the temperatures that they are subjected to and the times, etc. and the environment. So then the final inspection to check the defects, the pressure tightness, the dimensions achieved, right? So this gives you a summary of what happens in a sand mold casting. Okay. So already 9. I've taken the attendance. Okay, I'm randomly taking the attendance just so that we can have some attention. I'm not sure whether you are attending or not. It should come from you, right? Be sincere. Try to learn. We are here to learn a subject, isn't it? Not just for the sake of exam, but so that it increases you in knowledge, right? So try to be as sincere as possible and maintain running notes. That is good for you, right? And any doubts, feel free to ask, right? Okay, then I've taken the attendance, right? I'll end the meeting. If there are any doubts, you can ask or you can leave the meeting.